Hey, welcome back to How to Barbecue Right. I'm Malcolm Reed. Today I'm doing fall off the bone ribs, y'all. Coming from a comp background, I don't normally cook fall off the bone ribs. That'll guaranteed to get me last place in a contest. But everybody asks for them that way. That's the way restaurants sell them. So today I'm gonna show you how I do fall off the bone ribs. Let's get to cooking. All right, y'all, for these fall off the bone ribs today, I'm using St. Louis cut spare ribs. You could use loin backs, baby backs, whatever you want to use. I just like the meatiness of that spare rib. Y'all can see these are some nice big ribs, pretty straight bones. That'd be good for some competition cooking, but we're gonna make them fall off the bone today. I do have 3 racks, so I'm probably gonna cook one the way I like to do it for a comp to give them a little comparison. So I'm just keeping it simple on the seasoning on these fall off the bone ribs. You could use whatever seasoning you like. First thing I got's that salt, pepper, garlic. Y'all know it, that AP seasoning. I'm just putting a good coat on the back of these ribs. No binder. I'm just gonna let the meat make it stick. Now I'm coming back with some of the BBQ Rub. Use whatever kind of rub you want, man. This is your ribs. This is my favorite way though, just AP and barbecue rub. Doesn't get any more easier than that. All right, we're ready to flip these ribs and work on the meaty side. Do the same thing. We're gonna hit it with that AP first, then we're gonna come back and hit it with that barbecue rub. Even coat all the way down. I'm just kind of patting the edges, making sure we got some seasoning all the way around these ribs. You can already tell that rub's starting to work into the meat. Starting to get that pretty red color going on. The seasons are kind of melting, the sugars, the herbs, the spices, all that goodness is gonna adhere right to the surface of that rib. Today I'm firing up my Patio Outlaw stick burner. I'm gonna start with a good bed of Royal Oak lump coals. Once those coals get going and burn down some, we're gonna start adding splits of hickory wood to give us that smoke flavor, give us those good BTUs. Now I wanna run the pit at 275 today. That's gonna render that fat in these ribs, and that's what's gonna help us get them tender. It's time to get these ribs on the pit. Y'all can tell how they're already starting to sweat. You can see the seasoning starting to blend into them. That's what you want. Now we're just gonna get them right on the grate. I like to put them going across ways like this because that's the way the smoke kind of flows through the pit. We're just gonna lay them right on the rack, put them on there kind of straight, and then space them out a little bit just so air can flow. All right, so the ribs are on the Outlaw. It's time to add a stick of hickory wood to the fire. We're gonna let these dudes smoke till they get a pretty color. So we're about an hour and 45 minutes in. I just wanna take a peek at these ribs and see what my color's looking like. You can see we're still running 275. I've been holding the pit right there. And we're starting to get some good color on these ribs. They're not quite where I want them. You can still see some moisture on top. When I touch them, there's a little season that does want to come off, but it's starting to adhere pretty good to it. So we're looking good at this point. They're starting to get that color I want, but we want to let them go a little bit farther in the smoke before we wrap them up and we start making them get ready to jump off them bones. All right, y'all, it's been about 2 hours and 45 minutes. I eyeballed these ribs, and that's as dark as I want them to get. But look at that color we got going. The rub's cooked in. It's kind of getting that mahogany look to it. That's where you want your ribs when you get ready to get them tender. Starting to get some of that fat to render down now, but we're really fixing to get them fall off the bone once we put them in the wrap. So in my wrap, I like to have 3 things. You gotta have some richness, so we're getting that for some butter. So all I did was take a stick of butter and cut it in half. We're gonna lay that right on bottom. Then we need that sweet element to go with the ribs. So I've got some honey. You could use agave nectar, pretty much brown sugar, anything you like to get that sweet element. And then we need some acidity. Instead of just using just like a straight juice or vinegar or something like that, I'm using my vinegar sauce because it has some heat and it's going to give us a little bit of spice element to go with it. These 3 things are going to produce a liquid inside this wrap, and it's going to help break these ribs down, get them tender, add some richness, add some sweet flavor to it. And we're going to flip the ribs over. And this is where I look at the back side of them. If there's anything I want to pull off that's kind of cooked out, I go ahead and grab it off the end of the bones. Also hit them with just a little bit of rub on that back side just to reinforce those barbecue flavors that we're getting from the spices. And then I'm gonna put just a little bit of vinegar on the back side too. Now we just wanna wrap them up. It's real easy. Just bring your foil up, over, and then tuck them in real nice on the edge. All right, y'all, this is where we're gonna get these ribs tender. They're going back on the pit. We're keeping it at 275. But we're gonna break these ribs down now. So we're just gonna set them right back on the pit, kind of the same location. We wanna get the heat to them. We wanna get that fat rendering. We wanna get those bones letting go. It's gonna take a little while. We're gonna be patient with them. We're gonna watch them, and we'll come back and check on them and see how we're progressing. So these ribs have been wrapped for about an hour and a half. I want to get one slab off and check them. You know, when I'm cooking a contest rib or a rib that I want to be more integrity to it, stay on the bone, this is about where I pull them off. So I'm thinking this rack's going to be done. All right, y'all, it's been a total of 2 hours in the wrap. Now that slab of ribs that we had resting, I went ahead and bolted it up, got it back on here with a little bit of glaze on it. But now we got to check these ribs. These are going to be our fall off the bones. And when you pick them up and they're starting to bend like that, that's my first indicator that we got some well done ribs. You got to get them over to the board. And I am going to put them back on and glaze them just a little bit too. So let me show you how we do that over here on the cutting board. So this is the first rack of the fall off the bone ribs with the whole 2 hours in the smoke. When you pick it up, that dude's trying to break on me right there. Now, it really needs to cool off just a little bit, but to stop it from cooking, I'm gonna get it out of all this hot goodness we got it in. That's what's been breaking it down. You run a risk of it falling apart on you at this stage, but I'm gonna try to carefully flip it out and put it over here on a flat rack. You know, you talk about sticking a knife in hot butter. This ain't even, this is softer than that. And I do want to get a little more flavor on these. You could eat them just like this. They would be fine, but I like them, you know, put a little rub on them, set that a little bit. Give us some more flavor on the outside. This just cleans up any imperfections on them that wrap might have washed off. These held up really good in there. So I'm just gonna put these ribs on the sheet pan so I don't have to move them. I don't want to break them. Set that pan and all right back in the middle. I'm gonna go ahead and grab this rack. This glazed up, looking like some candy apple ribs, that mahogany color, got that glisten going. You know, that's a good rack of ribs. That might win a trophy right there. Let's close it down, let that dry rub set a little bit on our fall off the bone ribs. All right, it's been about 5 minutes for this dry rub to settle these ribs. Just pull these out a little bit. You can see how it kind of changes the color of them. Gets that mahogany look back after they come out of that wrap. And all I do is drizzle on a little of your favorite barbecue sauce. Y'all know I got the barbecue sauce. If you got a favorite one, by all means go for it. Then we're just going to kind of brush it around on the edges, on the ends. We'll make sure we get our bones. Hadn't added any more wood. We're just letting the smoker temper down so it's not hitting it hard, but you can see them hot coals off in there. So let that sauce sit. It's going to take about 5-10 minutes. Be ready to eat a rib bone or two. All right, y'all. That sauce looks like it's set to me after about 5 minutes. It just tacks up. That's all you want it to do. But them ribs are fixing to pop out. I can tell by the way they're bending. I ain't gonna have to cut much on them. All right, y'all, so just looking at these ribs, you can't even tell which ones are the fall off the bone or which one's the control. This one was that first rack. It's not fall off the bone, it's tender, I guarantee you. We're gonna cut into it in a minute. But I can pick this rack up, jiggle it around, do all kinds of stuff with it. The bones are staying in. I can't do that to these, y'all. I gotta be more careful with them. I don't even need a knife for it. All you do is take them and break them. You see how easy that rib broke? Check this out. You want to talk about fall off the bone pops out, that meat just comes right off. That's way too tender for a competition to win a trophy, but when it comes to eating, y'all, that fall off the bone don't play. Oh yeah, it's like rib meat butter. I mean, just look at that. You can see the smoke ring. That one fell out. All of them go fall out. Look at this. If you don't like to eat ribs like that, something's wrong with you. Because I know when I serve these to my friends and family, that's how they want them. This is melting your mouth texture. Hey, if you want to cook them fall out the bone, just cook them a little bit longer in the wrap. It took an extra 30 minutes to get them up there like 210, 212, and that's right where you want them. So cook them the way you like, but to make them fall out the bone, just keep cooking them. Hey, appreciate y'all hanging out with us here at HowToBBQRight. If y'all like what we're doing, subscribe to the channel. You can find us on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, even Twitter. And Shell and I are going to talk about these fall off the bone ribs on our weekly podcast. Y'all give that a listen too. We'll see you next time. People have spoken. Fall off the bone is where it's at. I don't need no trophy.